In 2014, a deep-sea research base resting nearly 4,000 meters below the South Atlantic stopped answering. Its last transmission was only 9 words long. "We are not alone under the station floor." Then the cameras went black. The pressure down there was enough to crush steel. The darkness was total. No diver could survive it. No rescue could arrive in time. When a recovery team finally reached the base 11 days later, they found the lights still on. The oxygen systems were still running. The coffee inside one of the metal mugs was frozen cold, but every person inside was gone. No bodies. No blood. No sign of escape. Only one sealed hatch, bent outward from the inside, as if something beneath the ocean floor had tried to come up. The deep ocean is Earth's last great unknown. We speak about distant planets with confidence. We map the surface of Mars. We send machines across empty space. But here, on our own world, beneath the waves, there are places we still do not understand. Down there, sunlight does not exist. Sound travels farther than sight. Pressure becomes a physical force of violence. Metal groans, glass thickens. Every system must work perfectly, or human life ends in seconds. The deeper you go, the less the ocean feels like water. It becomes something else, a black weight. A cold, endless pressure zone, a place where distance loses meaning, where mountains rise unseen from the seabed, where trenches open like wounds in the earth, where entire ecosystems live and die without ever being touched by light. The silence is never truly silent. There are clicks, low rumbles. Shifting sediments, the long metallic echo of your own machine, and sometimes sounds with no clear source. That is what made the disappearance at Base Orpheus so terrifying. Not just that the crew vanished, but that they vanished in one of the few places on Earth where no one could reach them quickly, and where whatever happened was hidden beneath for kilometers of dark water. Deep-sea research is one of the most difficult things humanity has ever attempted. At 4,000 meters, pressure exceeds 5,000 pounds per square inch. A human body exposed directly to that environment would not survive even a moment. Every cable, seal, valve, and window has to resist a constant crushing force. One flaw, one fracture, one failed gasket, and an entire mission can disappear. Even the strongest submersibles operate with limits. Battery life is finite. Communication is delayed and unstable. Acoustic signals bend through layers of water with different temperatures and salt levels. Sonar can distort shapes. Cameras can lose clarity in drifting particulates. Robotic arms freeze. Thrusters fail. Navigation systems drift by meters, then hundreds of meters, in terrain no human eye has ever seen directly. That is why permanent deep-sea stations are almost unheard of. Base Orpheus was not meant to be permanent in the usual sense. It was an experimental seafloor habitat designed for 45-day missions. A pressure-stabilized steel and titanium structure anchored on a basalt shelf near a field of hydrothermal vents, far from shipping lanes and even farther from public attention. Officially, the base studied extremophile life, microbial colonies, heat-resistant organisms, seismic activity under the ocean crust, acoustic mapping of a nearby trench system. Unofficially, some believed the site had been chosen for another reason. 2 years earlier, survey vessels mapping the area had found geometric anomalies beneath the sediment, straight angles, repeating voids, dense material buried below volcanic layers. At first, the data was dismissed as sonar interference. Then the pattern appeared again on 3 separate scans. No one announced that publicly. The base was built anyway. 6 researchers went down for the 3rd mission cycle. a marine geologist, a systems engineer, two biologists, an acoustics specialist, and the station commander, a former Navy saturation diver named Elias Voss. For the first 8 days, everything was routine. Then the sounds began. The first anomaly was recorded at 2:13 station time, a low-frequency pulse, too regular to be tectonic, too deep to be mechanical noise from the station itself, too slow to match whale Vieskazan. It repeated every 74 seconds. At first, the acoustics specialist, Dr. Myra Sato, logged it as interference from thermal activity near the vent field. Hydrothermal systems can create strange resonances: steam jets, mineral fractures, shifting pressure chambers. The ocean is full of noises that can sound unnatural, but this sound changed. Over the next 6 hours, the pulse grew stronger, not louder in a normal sense, closer. The waveform suggested upward movement through layers of sediment beneath the base. That was impossible. There was no known cavity under Orpheus. No drilled chamber, no magma pocket in the survey data, and yet the signal behaved like something rising. At 9:40, the station sent its first irregular report to the surface vessel Astor Vale. They described vibrations in the lower maintenance corridor, not enough to trigger alarms, just faint, repeating tremors felt through the floor grating. At 11:12, an ROV was deployed from the support vessel above. Its descent took nearly 3 hours. By the time it reached visual range of the base, one of Orpheus's external floodlights had gone dark. The live video showed the structure sitting silent on the seabed, half covered in drifting white particles. The remaining lights cut narrow tunnels through the black water. Everything looked normal. Then the ROV passed beneath the station and found fresh fractures in the sediment. Not random cracks. Parallel lines, 4 of them, each more than 12 meters long, each leading toward the central support columns under the habitat. The pilot asked the crew below if they had used drilling tools. No response. At 14:27, the station finally answered. Commander Voss sounded calm, but strained. He said the team had sealed off the lower corridor due to unexpected acoustic activity. When Surface Control requested clarification, there was a pause that lasted almost 12 seconds. Then Voss said something no one on the Astor Vale forgot. He said they were hearing metallic impacts from below the floor plating. Not above, not outside, below, as if something was striking the underside of the base from inside the seabed. By 16:03, internal camera feeds from Corridor C began failing one by one. At 16:19, the base transmitted a compressed packet of environmental data: temperature stable, hull integrity stable, power stable. But one reading made no sense. The seafloor pressure sensors under the western supports showed a brief drop, not an increase. A drop. As if a hollow space had opened beneath the structure. At 16:41, the final live voice transmission came through. People listening later said they could hear something in the background, a dragging sound, a slow, resonant scrape. Dr. Sato was speaking. Her breathing was uneven. She said, "The sound is not random. It is answering us." Then the line cut. 33 minutes later, the station sent its final message.
We are not alone under the station floor.
After that, every channel went silent. Bad weather delayed immediate descent. That delay changed everything. By the time the first manned recovery submersible reached base Orpheus, 11 days had passed. The ocean above had kept moving as if nothing had happened. On the seafloor, nothing looked damaged enough to explain total loss of crew. The habitat was intact. No catastrophic hull breach. No explosive decompression. No fire. No external collapse. The outer access lock responded normally. When the recovery team entered, they expected the worst. Instead, they found absence. The station looked recently occupied. Computer terminals were active in low-power mode. Emergency strips glowed along the floor. Meal packs were open on the galley table. A checklist had been half completed by hand. A microscope lamp still pointed at a tray of vent bacteria samples, now dead and pale. But there were no people. Sleeping quarters were empty. The medical bay was empty. The control room was empty. One chair in the acoustic lab had been knocked over. A mug lay on its side nearby. The liquid inside had dried into a dark stain. No blood was found anywhere in the station. No suits were missing from the equipment rack. Except one, Commander Voss's external maintenance suit was gone. That detail shaped the first theory. Perhaps Voss had suffered a breakdown. Perhaps he had tried to investigate a mechanical problem outside. Perhaps something happened, and the others followed. But the theory collapsed almost immediately. The missing suit had never cycled through the external lock. The lock records showed no completed exit sequence after day 8. It had simply disappeared from the rack. The base logs were worse. Large portions had been manually deleted in the final 6 hours. Not corrupted, deleted. But not cleanly. Fragments remained, short lines. Broken timestamps, unfinished notes. One line read,
Packed pattern has moved to east wall.
Another.
Floor temperature dropping without system cause.
And a final fragment, written only 7 minutes before the last message, read,
Knows where the hollow spaces are.
The recovery team searched outside. That was when the case became stranger. The seafloor around the western supports had sunk by almost 80 centimeters. The base had not collapsed, but one side now leaned by nearly 2 degrees. Beneath the station, sonar revealed an empty chamber that had not existed in previous surveys, a void. Roughly 20 meters across, extending deeper into the basalt beneath the seabed. No drilling marks were found leading into it. No natural vent opening. No clear geological explanation. It was as if part of the ocean floor had become hollow from within. When the second ROV entered the chamber, its lights showed suspended particles and broken mineral shelves. For 17 seconds, the feed remained stable, then the image warped. Not blurred. Bent. Straight lines in the camera frame curved inward. The timestamp flickered. The pressure readout spiked, dropped, then froze. And from somewhere in the dark ahead, the ROV microphone captured 3 metallic knocks evenly spaced. The same pattern Dr. Sato had described before the station went silent. Then the tether went dead. When the cable was pulled back up, the ROV was gone. The end had not snapped. It looked melted. Over the next month, every piece of evidence made the mystery worse. The first disturbing clue came from the station's backup hydrophones. Though primary communications had failed, a secondary recorder stored low-band acoustic data locally. When analysts recovered it, they found nearly 9 hours of sound. Most of it was ordinary station noise. Fans. Pumps. Footsteps. The dull hum of machinery. Then, at 15:08 on the final day, another pattern appeared. 3 knocks. Pause. 3 knocks. Longer pause. Then a cluster of faint sounds so low they were almost below human hearing. When the audio was slowed and filtered, those low sounds formed a shape no one expected. They mirrored the crew's own test pattern. Earlier that day, Dr. Sato had used a hull tap sequence to locate the source of the vibrations beneath corridor C.3 taps. Wait. 3 taps again. Minutes later, the same pattern returned from below. Something had repeated it. The second clue came from biological samples. Smears found on the underside of lifted floor panels contained an unknown protein matrix mixed with iron-rich sediment. It was not bacterial slime, not vent worm residue, not contamination from any cataloged deep-sea organism in the region. Under magnification, the material showed layered filament structures, as if woven rather than grown. Some researchers compared it to fungal tissue. Others said it looked like decayed connective fibers from an animal. No one could classify it. The third clue was visual. A corrupted fragment from an internal maintenance camera was recovered from a damaged storage drive. The file contained only 22 seconds of usable footage. Corridor C. Emergency red lights, empty passage, condensation on the ceiling. Then, at the far end of the frame, the floor panel lifted. Not much, only a few centimeters. Just enough to create a black line. Nothing visible emerged. But the panel stayed raised for full seconds before lowering again. No pressure surge was recorded in the corridor at that moment. No human entry. No mechanical fault in the panel latch. The fourth clue came from outside the station. A wide-angle camera mounted on the eastern support captured the silhouette of something moving through the particle clouds 31 minutes after the final message. The shape was enormous, longer than the station itself, or appearing that way through the dark. It did not swim like a whale. It did not pulse like a squid. It moved with a slow, controlled glide, then vanished behind a basalt ridge without reflecting enough light to define its outline. Some called it a shadow artifact. Others pointed to one impossible detail. As it passed the station, all 3 remaining floodlights dimmed at the same time, as if the water itself had thickened around it. For almost a year, the disappearance of the Orpheus crew remained classified. Then a final survey mission was approved. This time, the goal was not rescue. It was mapping the void beneath the station completely and sealing the site forever. A heavier autonomous drone, shielded for deep pressure instability, was sent into the chamber under the western supports. Unlike the earlier ROV, it carried no tether. It descended slowly through the hollow space, scanning the walls with multi-beam sonar and structured light. At first, the chamber looked natural: fractured basalt, mineral crusts, collapsed shelves. Then the drone went deeper than expected. 20 meters, 30.40 dash to the void did not end. Instead, it narrowed into an angled passage, descending beneath the original seabed like a tunnel cut through ancient rock. The drone followed it. At 57 meters below the station, the passage opened into a larger cavity. What the scan showed there has never been fully explained. Not bones, not wreckage, not volcanic columns. Shapes, vertical shapes, arranged in lines. Several rose from the chamber floor like pillars, but their sides were too even. Their spacing was too regular. Their upper surfaces too flat. The drone circled once. On its second pass, the light struck one of the forms at a shallow angle. Across the mineral coating was a pattern of grooves, repeating, geometric, intentional. No one said the word structure in the first report. They used safer terms: anomalous formations, patterned stone features, possible fracture regularity. Then the drone's forward camera turned toward the chamber floor. There, half buried in sediment, was something metallic. A helmet light mount, modern, scratched, but unmistakable. Part of Commander Voss's missing suit. The drone lowered for closer inspection. That was when another object came into view beside it, a human handprint, pressed into a layer of fine mineral dust on the stone. 5 fingers, clear palm base. recent enough that the edges had not fully collapsed. There should have been no air pocket, no place for a human to stand, no path for a suit to reach that chamber without external deployment. The drone transmitted 11 more seconds of video. Then a new sound entered the feed. Not through the water. Through the drone chassis itself. A vibration. 3 knocks. Pause. 3 knocks. The drone turned automatically toward the nearest pillar. And for one frame, just one, the scan overlay registered a cavity inside it. Not solid stone. Hollow. Before operators could react, the feed ended. The drone was never recovered. After that mission, satellite records show the site marker for Base Orpheus was removed from public nautical maps. But one document leaked years later, a maintenance summary from the base's first mission cycle. Most people ignored it. Buried in the appendix was a single note from a junior engineer. It mentioned hearing faint impacts under the sleeping quarters on night 3. The note had been closed as thermal settling. That meant the sounds had started long before the final mission, and perhaps long before humans placed a station there at all. What happened at Base Orpheus? No explanation has ever satisfied all the evidence. The first theory is geological. According to this view, the base was built over an unstable volcanic chamber. Seafloor collapse opened hidden cavities beneath the supports. Pressure shifts created resonant impacts. Unknown mineral reactions damaged equipment and distorted sensors. It is the safest theory. It explains the hollow space. It explains some of the acoustic anomalies. It even explains why the station listed slightly before recovery. But it does not explain the repeated signal mimicry. It does not explain the unidentified biological matrix. And it does not explain how a handprint appeared deep inside a submerged chamber no diver could access. The second theory is biological. Some researchers believe the team encountered an unclassified deep-sea organism living within subsurface voids below the vent field. A large, pressure-adapted life form, possibly colonial, possibly intelligent in a way humans do not recognize easily. That theory would explain the organic residue. It could explain the massive shadow outside the station. It could even explain the mimicry of the tap pattern, since many marine animals use vibration and sound with remarkable precision. But this raises a worse question. If such a life form existed, why did it interact with the station through the floor? Why strike from below? Why remove people without leaving clear traces? And how could a biological organism create or inhabit structures that appear deliberately shaped? The third theory is the one most scientists refuse to say aloud: that the chamber beneath Orpheus was not fully natural, that the pillars were not geological accidents, that something old was buried under basalt and sediment long before modern oceans took their present form. Not a city in the fantasy sense, not a simple ruin, something functional, something sealed. The base may not have discovered it. It may have woken it. The repeated knocks. The hollow pillars, the geometric grooves, the responding patterns. All of it suggests contact, but not in the way people usually imagine, not from the sky, from below, from the oldest dark on Earth. Today, Base Orpheus remains on the seafloor. Unmanned, unvisited, officially abandoned due to structural risk. The surviving video has never been released in full. The names of the missing crew are rarely mentioned outside specialist circles. Families were given sealed reports. The support vessel logs remain partially redacted. But one final detail continues to haunt the case. During the last classified survey, before the site was closed, a passive listening buoy was left above the vent field for 72 hours. It recorded deep acoustic activity from below the seabed. Most of it was unreadable. Then, on the final night, the hydrophone captured a pattern 3 knocks. Pause. 3 knocks. Then a new sequence. Longer, more deliberate to regular to ignore. Analysts compared it to emergency code, mechanical rhythm, animal repetition, even seismic artifacts. Nothing matched. Months later, a linguist working with signal analysts noticed something unsettling. The timing pattern resembled human spacing, not language exactly, but turn-taking, as if one side had knocked, and the other side had learned to answer. No one knows whether the final crew of Orpheus found an ancient chamber, an unknown species, or a depth of the ocean that should never have been disturbed. No one knows why the station was left intact while the people inside vanished. No one knows what bent the hatch in the maintenance level outward. And no one knows what left a human handprint in a place where no human should have been able to stand. But somewhere in the black water of the South Atlantic, beneath 4,000 meters of crushing dark, an empty station still rests on the seafloor. Its lights are dead now. Its corridors are cold. Its windows face nothing but sediment and night. And directly below it, hidden in stone older than memory, there may still be hollow spaces. Waiting. Listening. Answering. If we have explored only a tiny fraction of the deep ocean, what could already be down there, beneath the seafloor, listening for us to knock first?